We're going to break for one-on-one shortly. We're going to open the floor for questions. Any questions for any of us here? Feel free to ask away.
Sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Is this going to be the biggest crowd for the Prizefighter?
Yes, it will be. I mean, we did the heavyweight prize fighters, which Audley Harrison won. We had about 5,000 in XL that night in London. So I expect, I expect this to be a sellout. I mean, we've sold more tickets, actually sold more tickets over the first weekend of going on sale than they sold for Fury Pavlik for the entire box office for the 7-week lead up for the fight. So, actually, when you look online, and these guys are taking a serious amount of tickets as well, and with Paul McCloskey with his, mediocre ticket sales that he tends to generate, I can't see how it won't be sold out. I mean, we looked at the Odyssey. Prizefighter is a very different event. It needs a special kind of arena and a special kind of atmosphere. If you don't bang out the arena, then I don't really think you ever maximise the atmosphere. And the Odyssey Arena holds, I think, 9,000. King's Hall can get up to 6,000. But with that balcony style there at the King's Hall, I think it could be a very, very special atmosphere. And it's an iconic venue for an iconic night.
Eddie, is Prizefighter going to run straight through?
Yes.
Like, in other words, the final is going to be before Paul?
Correct, yeah. There's a 20-minute gap before the final. Yeah. Actually, it's been shortened now to 15-minute gap. So, you'll have your 4 quarter-finals, then your semi-final, and then your final, and then literally we'll be saying, well done, and then Paul straight in for his big fight.
Eddie, can you give us any more sort of, expand a bit more just in the whole world title picture of football? I mean, just what have been the roadblocks, and where can it sort of open up from, do you think?
Well,
many particular balance?
Yeah, many roadblocks. There's many roadblocks, and let me tell you some of them. Firstly is Paul is not a fighter. The American networks are getting very, very particular. I mean, you've seen the problems we've had with, I've just brought Lucian Butte over to fight Carl Froch in Nottingham. That's a fight that Showtime have actually turned down. And they're getting very, very particular now, as are Sky Sports, about the kind of fights that they want to show. And, we're disappointed with the Carl Froch. But that gives you an example. Carl Froch, who's had 6 fights throughout Super 6 series on that channel. They want American fighters, they want big-name American fighters. So what I'm saying is that for Marcos Madonna to go to an HBO or a Showtime and say, I'd like to fight Paul McCloskey in America, they've got no interest in that fight. They've got very little interest in Marcos Madonna anyway, unless he's fighting a big-name American. And obviously they don't know a great deal about Paul. So that's the first obstacle you face. Then you need to get the fighter over here. Well, the answer to that is we offered Marcos Madonna $300,000, I've said it a million times, plus worldwide TV. Now, if he's got absolutely any ability within his management organisation at all, that worldwide TV is worth a minimum of $300,000. But effectively, and I know some people rate Marcos Madonna for, and they're entitled to their opinion, but effectively he's coming over to lose. You're paying a man to come over to lose, because he would lose, and I think they half know that. The problem with Marcos Madonna is he's got about 15 people working for him. Marcos Madonna would be over the moon with $300,000. But his manager, Golden Boy, some other bloke down in Puerto Rico, his mate who's been involved for 10 years, and some bloke who washes his car, also wants 5%, 10%, 15%, you know what I mean? So,
So are we coming to the conclusion that Paul will have to travel for a world title?
Potentially. I don't think he's bothered about travelling. Listen, we'd happily go to Las Vegas to fight for a world title, happily. In an ideal world, you always want to bring him to the UK. But that's not always possible. I mean, at $300,000, we were pricing ourselves at quite a risky number, whereby we'd have to sell out the Odyssey and get a nice whack from Sky to make that happen. But you're willing to take the risk, make the investment. But the response that we had from them was, oh no, it would have to be significantly more than that. Not even, how about 400,000? It wasn't even.
Is it just the case that Sky don't pay enough for you to bring world titles to Britain anymore?
Not necessarily. Sky pay fees which are dependent upon the ratings. And at the end of the day, boxing is not rated particularly well in the UK. I mean, that's the bottom line. It's not rated, you look at something like the darts rating that we do, it's 3 or 4 times that of a boxing show. An average Saturday night fight night on Sky might rate at 150,000. Prizefighter will rate at 400,000. And that's another reason why I wanted to put Paul on this bill, because you grow the profile to a bigger audience. The first thing to do is to give value for fight fans, and I know I've harped on about that, but this is cracking value. But also, people want to turn on, I think what the problem is with boxing at the moment, people are turning on the channel and seeing half-full leisure centres with shit fights. And that appeals to nobody. That kills the game, it kills the audience. And anyone who's an aspiring fight fan, or anyone who's an aspiring viewer, is going to turn on the TV and say, what is this? And turn it straight over. You know, as bad as the Klitschko fight was, it's got 55,000 people in there, and it's a big, big show. Now, to us, most of the people in this room who are hardcore boxing fans, thought it was a load of bollocks. Excuse my French a few times here, but you know, but the casual fan, the casual. I've been spending too much time here. That's the problem. The casual fan turned it on and went, "Wow, this is unbelievable." And that's the state of the fight market in Germany. They're backwards compared to the British fans. No, but the British fans are a much more experienced fight. You think that British fans would accept Klitschko against Mormek, like but the Germans all left that with a smile on their face. And you know, that fight rated at nearly 500,000 on Sky. You know, and the week before was, I don't know, Scott Quigg against someone which rated at 80,000. You know, so people are tuning in to watch the big fights, and Prizefighter, it is what it is. You know, it is a gimmick. You know, but it's a great gimmick, a great concept, and it gives these boys an unbelievable chance to change their life and catapult themselves into a whole new dimension within the division and leapfrog all the competition. But what it does for the casual fans, they turn it on, they say, this is unbelievable. 8 fighters, 7 fights, double your money, winner stays on. 3 3-minute rounds, absolutely hammer and tong at it, all night. You know, and you know what you're going to get from these guys. You know, we've had prize fighters before where you look at some of the entrants and you think, are you really going to put it all on the line? But tell me one of these boys that isn't, you know, and you can hear it in their voice, you can see it in their eyes. You know, they're all going to go for it on the night, and that's what you've got to continue to do. You've got to do great shows. It's just the red button, just the red button.
It's a new one. I don't have. Sorry.
Yeah. How many people do you expect to tune in on the night?
On Sky, yeah. I would think somewhere in the region of 400,000 or 500,000. You know, it's a big audience, but the guys have got to embrace that. You know, they've got to go for it. They've got to show their personality. This is a once-in-a-lifetime shot for a lot of people. Some have never fought on TV, some will never fight on TV again. But this is like your FA Cup final, it's your world title shot. You get out there, you've got to live the music, you've got to live the atmosphere, you've got to go and give it the big one. Give it the royal big one. You know, you've got to go and try and win.
Will there be many people tuning in from England, do you think?
Well, all of them from England. Yeah. It's on Sky Sports, you know. But, you know, I mean, from Sky, the bulk of the audience will come from the UK. Yeah. But obviously it's going to have a big following in Ireland as well. You'd hope so, being an all-Ireland prize fighter, you know. But I think that generally it's never been done before, and it is a little bit risky, you know, because essentially when the bulk of our audience is from England, you know, is it going to have the same appeal? But you know, in England, the Irish have got a great reputation for having a great punch-up, you know, and that's where the term "fighting Irish" comes from, because it's like you know, it's a perception of the English fans that the Irish love to go in there and have a great fight and a great tear-up, and these boys will all do that, so they won't let one down.
Last question to you. Can you ever see an Irish-English Prizefighter?
England versus Ireland. Yeah, well that was the concept originally. I didn't think we'd be able to find 8 quality middleweights to take part in this event who'd be